Right, welcome back. Now, women in Southern Africa are standing their ground against coal production. Leaders and activists from WoMin organization have been gathering in Johannesburg in a regional exchange. They have and are still sharing ideas and experiences in solidarity against what they call destructive resource extraction. All right, don't understand it? Well, luckily, in studio with us, we've got Samantha Hargreaves. She's the host of the regional exchange. It's good to have you, Samantha. Thanks very much for popping by.
Great, thank you very much for having us.
All right, so tell us a little bit more about this organization, WoMin, your visions, what you're hoping to achieve, and how the organization came about.
Sure. So WoMin was born about 1.5 years ago. We launched in October 2013. And it brings together regional organizations, movements, organizations, community-based organizations that are working on the impacts of extractive industries more generally. And by unifying ourselves and sharing our experiences, building solidarity, we're hoping to project forward an alternative model of development that doesn't lead to the sort of destruction that we're seeing, that actually supports people's lives and livelihoods. That's our intention.
Okay, so at the center of all of this is coal production, and you're very much so against coal production. Why? What is the problem with it?
So we've gathered about 50 women from different countries in the region and a large contingent from South Africa. And the stories that women have told through this exchange have been very powerful stories. On the one end of the spectrum, we see massive water and air pollution. So people in many communities are struggling to access safe domestic water supplies, but also water supplies that they can use in agricultural production. It's not just the pollution of water, but it's also the theft of water, the grabbing of water. So water gets diverted from domestic and subsistence or small-scale agriculture to major industrial users like coal mines. We also see air pollution, which is leading to major respiratory infections. This leads to different types of cancers. So for example, in the Vaal region, where we were yesterday on an exchange, research that's been done looking at 36 peer-reviewed studies concludes that 51% of hospital admissions are actually linked to air pollution related to Sasol and coal industries in that area, and that 51% of mortalities are in fact related to outdoor air pollution. There are many, many other effects related to land and food production, related to women's bodies. There's high levels of prostitution and transactional sex in many of these mining areas. And our argument is that it's women that carry the greatest burden of these impacts, and that's what we're trying to bring to the forefront.
Yeah. What alternative are you asking for, or would you like to see implemented as opposed to coal production?
So I think we're still in the process of sharing our experiences, but many of the suggestions that are coming through this process already point us to some of the answers. And the answers really come from women's lived experiences. That's our position. And so energy is absolutely critical to women's lives, yet with many of these mega industrial energy projects, whether it's hydro or coal, a lot of the electricity production doesn't actually benefit local communities. So people can be living right next to a power station and they don't enjoy energy, nothing. Yeah. In the Inga Dam, this is now hydropower in the DRC, people are going to be living, they're going to be affected, tens of thousands of people are going to be affected by a big hydropower dam, but all of that energy is going to be exported to South Africa and to Europe. So our position is that renewable energy is absolutely critical. This is the way to go. And in South Africa and other countries, we should have been pushing for that transition decades back. That's our first position. The Africa region is rich in many resources: solar, wind, thermal. We've got tides that we can draw on to create energy. So we should be using the resources that we have access to that don't create carbon emissions to create energy for ourselves. But this requires a big shift in the way that we think about development. So I mean, what is fueling the coal sector is massive vested interests. The vested interests in the form of financiers, they're in the form of existing power utilities, coal mines. We also have a lot of vested interest amongst our own politicians. And so making the shift to renewable energy is a deeply challenging one.
Yeah, it certainly is. And I mean, you see a lot of the world are moving in the direction of renewable energy. It is the way that things are moving, and yet we are still fighting for coal and different forms of energy, like nuclear energy. What's your stance on something like nuclear energy?
I think, we have members of a global uranium alliance that are part of WoMin as well. And uranium is one of the most dangerous forms of mining. So it's both at the point of extraction, but also at the point of production of energy that it's very, very dangerous, including the transportation of uranium to big plants. So we would also, again, take a very clear stance against uranium and say, let's choose energy forms that, A, are safe, produce energy that is available to local consumers. And so that would be the position that we would take.
Okay, so renewable energy, your real source that you would like to see happening. You've been gathering in Berea for the last couple of days in Johannesburg. I know you're moving around as well. You mentioned the VAL. But just in terms of this regional exchange, I know you've highlighted a couple of the issues, but what else has come out? I mean, what else is the pressing issue that's related, and let's be specific, to South Africa?
Okay, so in South Africa, some of the issues that have emerged around energy are, A, the fact that a lot of local communities still don't have access to energy, and this has greatest impact on women, because women are the ones that are responsible for putting food on the table. Women are the ones that oversee children's homework. They're responsible for care in the family. And so when there's no local energy in the household, it creates a lot of burden and additional work for women. So women are saying, we want access to energy, but we want access to clean, safe energy. The other dimension that's coming through is who controls energy. And so I think a lot of the models that we're seeing globally, and we would like to see pursued in South Africa and other parts of the region, are much more localized, where you actually have community control over energy resources, where you've got local collectives creating energy through solar panels, through wind energy, through thermal, and people then put that onto a national grid. So that's part of the solution. We want to see much more socialized local community control over energy resources.
I mean, it's a very fitting conversation, particularly for the place that we as South Africa find ourselves in right now. I mean, we are in an energy crisis, and new angles need to be discussed, new ways forward need to be discussed. And I mean, before South Africa actually finds itself in a state of blackness, which we seem to be moving, and I mean, it's just the lights are going out at a very fast and furious pace. So perhaps change is what we need, and we need it now. And these could be some of the ideas.
And this is the thing, is that we're facing a major threat not just to local environments and ecosystems, which are some of the impacts of coal, but we're also facing major threats to the planet. So if the current coal power stations and mines that are queued up in the production line globally actually are implemented, we are looking at we're pointed at a 6-degree temperature increase in the world. So now already in terms of global climate negotiations, we're talking about a maximum of 2-degree temperature increase. Most civil society organizations and less developed countries are saying 1 to 1.5 degree increase. If we maintain this current trajectory, where coal is contributing most of our energy needs globally, we are firmly on course for a 6-degree temperature increase. And we watch films about apocalyptic futures, and quite frankly, I'm not exaggerating, but that is what we're looking at with a 6-degree future. This planet will no longer be sustainable for human habitation. Large swathes of the planet people will no longer be able to live in. We're going to see wars around water and natural resources. It's a horrible future that we're looking at, and so we need to take action now. And I think women in communities in the region offer the solutions. They're pointing us in the right direction, and we need to listen to those voices.
Well, it's been a fascinating interview. Thank you very much, Samantha, for coming in. Samantha Hargreaves is part of WoMin. It's Women in Southern Africa, and really standing their ground against coal production and wanting Africa and basically the world to move in the direction of renewable energy before there is no world left to even worry about. All right, let's take a